Oh, good, you're here. Come on. This is the centre of performance. Whenever there's a top performance in New Zealand, it all comes from here. That's Lisa Carrington. She's been doing that for days. That's the boy who got the hole-in-one in Taupo. Oh, he did it again. Hey, Finn, how's the performance going?
Top tier.
Nice. This is our Generate room. In here, you'll find our top performers helping Kiwis maximise their KiwiSaver investments. Get in here, Finn. Maximise.
Right,
Generate. Putting performance first.
Heather McRae, welcome to my podcast.
Thanks, Dom. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you here. I don't know how this happens, but you were my maths tutor out of school hours when I was 14. So you were an adult at the time. I was a kid. And now, how do you look younger than me now? The maths doesn't stack up.
Well, I hear you're running marathons, so I think you're stacking up pretty well, Dom.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Going strong.
So Heather McRae, the headmaster, do you say, or headmistress?
No, principal.
Principal.
Yes.
The principal of Dio, and it's a role that you've had for the last 17 years.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So I was thinking about this morning. So the girls that are in the final year of school at Dio now, they were born the year you began.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct. And so I was having a laugh with the girls about that last week, that some of them weren't born when I first started there because, they usually spend 13 years with us. Some of the girls spend longer because we started an early learning centre as well. So they can start at 3.5, and some of the girls did that. So it's been a wonderful journey with them, and there's nothing better than watching our young women grow and graduate as strong, stroppy and knowledgeable young women. I love it.
Is stroppy a good word?
Well, we want them to be able to hold their own with their beliefs and values, and to know that they have equal rights in the world. And I think we're very lucky to live in a country like New Zealand, where women were the first to get the vote in the 1890s. So we've always looked back at that and said, what does that mean today for our young women, and how do we continue that level of equality that we're looking for? It's still not quite there yet, Dom, and there are some areas where, women are still not paid equally for the same work. And, it's expensive being a woman, more expensive than being a male. So we could have a chat about that sometime.
Well, today's the day. Well, I didn't even think about having you as a podcast guest, and then I had Tim O'Connor on,
Yes.
who's the principal of Auckland Grammar, and then a lot of people came forward and suggested you. So I thought you'd be the perfect person for this, because
thanks.
just the insights that you've got on young women in New Zealand is more than most. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So why is it more expensive to be a woman? In terms of...
Have you heard of the pink tax? So
What's
the pink tax is the way in which society, I guess, expects women to live and to present themselves and to be, is often far more expensive. So you could wear, your 5 shirts in a week with the same suit. A woman has far more variation in what she wears. She also, for a large percentage of her time, needs products that males don't need, which you will be aware of. And then, there's all the additional things. I always laugh because my husband's haircut costs $35. He's got a great head of hair. He doesn't like the colour because he's a redhead. But it costs me $100 and something to have my hair done on a regular basis. So there, you add that up over a long period of time along with the clothes, and women like to have lovely nails. I do. And I think there's a bit about your own private feeling about how you want to present yourself that's very important, but it does cost. And typically women are 12 to 13% paid lower than their male counterparts. So women who end up retired end up with less money to retire on as well. So there's that difference between the genders as they grow and learn and develop in our country.
The pay equity thing, what's your take on that?
Well, in teaching, surprisingly enough, there is pay equity until you get to the discretionary level, which is often at principal level. And so often, especially in the private school sector, male principals are paid more than female counterparts. And sometimes the strengths, and having been principal of a very large state co-ed secondary school, there's this view, that male principals should be appointed over female principals because they can control the boys. Whereas in my experience, I loved being a female principal in a co-educational school. And it's really lovely to hear the boys talk openly about their family and show vulnerability rather than sometimes the staunch attitudes that you see from students. That's what I love about being in a all-women environment. I find it very open and respectful, and people are happy to be vulnerable. And I think that's a real strength of how we educate young women.
Yeah. So it's just recently been announced that you're retiring at the end of the first term in 2026 after 17 years on the job. What sort of thought process went into that?
I guess there's a time when you look at the growth and development of a school, and when I first went to Dio, I promised them I'd be there for 5 years. That had been a fairly consistent pattern for me with regard to my previous principal's roles, and I'd really enjoyed, I guess, getting to know the school and implementing change, but there were a couple of challenges along the way that kept me there for longer. One was COVID, and I didn't feel it was the right time to leave the school during that time, and I felt really committed to ensuring we could continue to educate our young people and have a high level of normality and regularity through that period of disrupted learning. Straight out of 2022, we looked forward to normality, and then 2023, the floods hit, and we were flooded twice, not once during Auckland anniversary weekend, but the following Waitangi weekend and the cyclone that hit New Zealand over that time. So there was a lot of work with the flooding. We had 6 buildings yellow stickered, and it was really important for me to be the consistent person through that decision making to make sure that we got the campus back up and where it should be. Since then, we've also taken on a couple of climate-related fixes of large buildings, a couple of big projects this year with our Shrewsbury block and chapel, and I wanted to see those through. And with the new curriculum starting to roll out, it's been great to have some input into that and also into the new qualifications. So it's a good time for a new principal to transition in.
I can't imagine how nervous you were the morning of the staff meeting.
Don't go there. It was an afternoon full staff meeting. And the chaplain could see my distress at announcing this, and she took over, which was really needed. All right, we'll stop right there. Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah. Tears are good. It shows how much it means to you. Yeah. And I suppose how much you mean to the staff there.
I guess, yeah. It's always important, I think, to ensure that, you leave the place better than you found it. My father was very much about that. Whenever he borrowed anything, he always said to me, if you're using anything, doing anything, or borrowing anything, you give it back better than you found it. So I like to think I've done that, Dom.
We can change the subject if you want.
Yes, we do. We will.
So how long ago was the announcement made?
About 3 weeks ago now,
right.
4 weeks ago.
Whenever you talk about it to this day, you still get emotional about it.
I do. It's going to be terrible next term.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's a long farewell too.
It is
a long tail.
It is. Well, it's important that the board have really good lead-in time and, can appoint, the next person going forward.
Yeah, we got some tissues there if you need
Oh,
them.
thank you.
What will you miss most about the job? And least? What will you miss
yeah.
most and least of the job?
Yes, there's a lot to miss, as part of the job, because you're really part of a big community, and I love that. The challenges certainly that come along. There's not too many parts of the job that that I don't like. In fact, probably none, because when people do come in and they want to talk about how we can get better, how we can improve education, it's because they've got I guess an objective view of something. Sometimes when you're working in a school, you can get so absorbed and engrossed in it that that keeping a check on those outside points of view, whether you feel that they're good ones or unreasonable ones, everybody is worth listening to, and I feel that's really important. So for me, even if you from time to time you get nailed over certain issues, I think it's important to also demonstrate that we've got to learn as well as adults and as an organisation to make sure that we move forward and that we can adjust and adapt to the needs of students and the parent community. So I will really miss that. I've met the most amazing people in the job, and I've seen the most inspiring young women leave and have incredible careers. And that's been absolutely fantastic to see and be part of.
What sort of fires are you putting out on any given week over the last 17 years? Like, what are the most common reasons people get suspended or expelled for? Does that happen often?
It doesn't happen as often as you would think. And in a school like Dio, I've often said, if you can't teach at Dio, you can't teach anywhere. The community are amazing, they're supportive, and because they are investing, they already pay taxes, but they're investing extra to provide an education for their daughter, which is, that there's a difference, and they see that and want that difference for their daughter. And it is important, to realise, I think, the commitment that we all have in the schools. We're very highly accountable. So, when parents are making such an investment, we take that very seriously and make sure that we are, in fact, providing what we say we're providing, and that it's something that's that we can continue to change and adapt as the world changes around us as well. I think you can do that very quickly in a private school. In the state sector, you're somewhat limited by the speed of life with the public sector and the Ministry of Education and all the organisations associated with it. The good thing in the private sector is you can be very nimble and you can set your own vision and actually then make it happen. So there aren't so many issues. Certainly in my previous school, Pakuranga College, I did suspend far more, and you'll be interested to know that many more of them were boys than girls.
That doesn't surprise me. What sort of things? Is it like vaping on the school grounds or fighting or?
It's more aggression
with
boys. With girls, they look for more peaceful ways typically of resolving matters, which is the case. And I think you can develop the work around a school so that it's embedded in the school culture as to how you deal with disagreements and issues that arise between students. So I think probably the pattern I would have seen over recent years is the growth of issues that have been caused or have played out on social media. And so much more social media now is occupying the minds of our young people and can 24/7. And it's been very hard for parents to adjust to the speed of social media and the way in which it can impact on a student's well-being. And, I think that's the biggest difference I've seen in the last, 10 years especially.
There's a campaign at the moment called B416 to try and get social media banned for New Zealanders under the age of 16. What's your take on that?
I, to some extent, agree with it. My question is, how will they actually, how would that be monitored? And I guess we're keeping an eye on Australia. But I do believe and have seen examples of where it's incredibly damaging on the well-being of a person who has been exposed to all sorts of behaviours online. Let's face it, we wouldn't let our children go to a mall at 11 o'clock at night on their own that we know has pornographic images, that has violence, that has the ability to for someone to pick them up and not know who they are and take them somewhere. We would never allow that as parents, but many young people are being exposed to that online through social media all the time. And the companies that have supported the big tech companies don't seem interested in working out, how to manage the age of the students who go online. And most students, if they're 10 years old, signed up to Facebook, have or Instagram or any of the other social media platforms, there's no way of checking how old they are. And often parents are unaware of all of the safety steps that they can take with their students. I think NetSafe has been a fantastic organisation to provide that support for parents alongside of a lot of work we do at the school. So I support it if it can work. And I think it's really important to protect the self-image that our young people grow up with. And they're so fragile in that under 16-year-old age group. I think the older students can develop more savvy attitudes to social media, and certainly we were one of the first schools to ban phones during the school day, and people would phone up and say, "How did you do that?" And we said, "Well, we just did it." And the kids, by and large, the girls, were actually quite relieved because they did cartwheels on the lawn outside and engaged in real games that involved physical activity rather than sitting in a corner communicating with each other on their phones. So we saw a massive difference, and I'm really pleased that the government made steps towards banning phones during the school day.
When did you do that? God, it must have gone down like a cold cup of sick at the time.
Well, it didn't actually. It was quite surprising, Dom. We had very little pushback from parents and hardly any pushback from students at all.
Oh, I don't believe that. I believe it about the parents, but not the students.
It was actually true.
Wow.
Yeah, and it just shows you that sometimes the kids are aware of issues and how it is impacting on them. And sometimes we as adults, I think, have to show courage in that space and, know what we want for our young people. And what we could see was a general decline, typically across all OECD countries, of, young people growing up. And while we monitor wellbeing, and we didn't see it necessarily impacting on our wellbeing at school, we knew that wellbeing across OECD countries was declining. Yeah.
I mentioned on Instagram that you're coming in, and I've got I outsourced so many questions, in particular in relation to, I suppose, young women in New Zealand, and there's no one more, I suppose, more equipped to talk about this than what you are with your insights from the last 17 years as principal of Dio. But first of all, a little bit about you. So who is Heather McRae, and what's her backstory?
Okay, my backstory is rural New Zealand, and I was born in Pahiatua. Our farm, and I had wider family, uncles, my dad's uncles, all had farms in the kind of North Wairarapa area. So I was raised on a farm. I had all older brothers, and so I was the youngest girl. The boys would still say I'm the spoilt girl of the family, but hey, they'll get over it. But I loved growing up on a farm. I thought it was. I feel very fortunate to be raised in such a beautiful country in rural New Zealand during those times. I went to a 2-teacher rural primary school and then caught the bus to Tararua College every day through to year 13. And I loved school. I was probably a girly swot, and I particularly loved science and mathematics, which is, where I went on to further study at Massey University. So those, I love animals, I always have, because I was raised with them. So I think it's lovely at Dio, where we have a school cat, 2 school cats. We've managed to acquire another one lately that seems to be visiting us a lot. I really believe in the counselling dogs that we have too, one in junior, one in senior school. And it's lovely to see the way in which children relax when they're going through hard times.
Counselling dog? What's that?
Yeah, so they come into the school and work in our counselling unit. So they are trained, and they're trained to sit and relax so that children can hug them, and they're very well behaved. They eat on demand and do the other end on demand as well. So I was going to try it out with the person who quickly stopped me because she said, "You really don't want that on the office floor, do you, Heather?"
It's like a party trick.
Yeah, no, I love animals, so that's always been part of me. So I think when I grew up, it was going to be a vet or something in science, which I majored in organic chemistry and biochemistry at university, loved those subjects, and went on to discover education and how special it is to be able to pass on that knowledge to young people.
Yes, so much has changed since you were a teenager to teenagers of today. What was the biggest sort of adversity or stress during your teenage years? I don't know if I can remember that back that far. I mean, I'm sure there's the obvious stuff like exam stress and anxiety, but
yes,
what else?
There was that. Yeah. I mean, I went to it was a lovely rural secondary school. We had great teachers, and it was interesting because I think in rural education then you did have a stronger level of teaching now. Well, if I look back on it, we were lucky in rural New Zealand to have quality teachers. I think it's hard today to get the same quality teachers that we had back then. We were very fortunate, I think.
Why is that?
I think, unfortunately, the country puts down teaching, and it's not always seen as a desirable career. Some of that is, the hard work that's associated with it, and for sure, teaching is a job where you're giving a lot, and sometimes, people find that really difficult to be able to work their way through and see it as a career. But I personally think it's just the most amazing career because you see these incredible young people. A few years ago, my son-in-law, who is a neurosurgeon, said to me, Heather, you've got the best job ever. And he said, I'm trying to save people's lives. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And those times are really hard. He said, what you see are these amazing young people, and you're helping them to achieve the rest of their life that's before them. And it was the first time I'd heard that comparison made, and it's so true. It's a great career, and I think it's a shame that more young people don't see it as an opportunity for them and earlier in life.
What's the difference between Heather, the person at home, and Miss McRae, the school principal?
Yeah, I probably swear at home a bit more than I do.
What are your favourite swear words?
I can't tell you that. Well, I learned a few in Mandarin as well when I lived and worked in China. So that was quite handy as a principal because sometimes students think they can flick into their own language, but knowing a few swear words in a foreign language is quite useful too. Yes, at home, I love to unwind, pyjamas and, being able to relax. I love that. And to be able to take time out to de-stress. I'm also still a runner, like you. I took up running in my middle probably 30s, I think,
So just
early
recently.
30s. Yeah, that's right, just recently. And it's something I've always enjoyed. You can just put on a pair of running shoes, de-stress. You don't need to run fast to try and tire yourself out, but I found it great. And I also built a lot of friends through, running marathon clinic and things like that back in the day. And like your mum was a good runner too that I knew back then. And that, it was a great way. We could go to each other's houses with children and fit in a run. And it was lovely to be able to combine that with childhood and career and to work through. Yeah.
Yeah, was this like part of the jogging boom of the 1980s?
Yeah,
yeah.
it was.
Like when running was invented.
Yeah, that's right.
So we've established that you're a prolific swearer. What else would your students be shocked to learn about you?
What else? Well, that's... it's hard to know actually. I'm not sure. I don't keep a profile much on social media because, as you know, sometimes principal can be targeted. So I don't keep that much as a profile. I think that it's important that you don't get overwhelmed by some of that stuff that I've seen go on, across the board. When you make a decision sometimes, you can end up getting a lot of social media feedback. And sometimes that can be quite overwhelming for principals. And I've heard principals talk about that before too.
Is this from students or parents of students? Or
sometimes it can be from overseas.
Right.
It can come from anywhere. And some of those issues can be very difficult to manage and handle. That's the harder side, I think, of dealing with it. Also, might I add that sometimes the media, I think, are just overcritical of private schools and want to catastrophise small things that happen. One example would be the gentleman, last week at Maricopa who was killed by the police. The next media coverage included, that he went to a private school who taught him survival skills.
Oh, I saw that. I thought, yeah. So this is Tom Phillips you're talking about.
Yes.
He went to St Paul's in Hamilton, and they run a outdoor education thing called Tihui, which is bloody amazing.
Yes,
and it was. I don't know. Yeah,
it was kind of a long bow to draw, I think, when you're going to hold schools.
Yeah, it was, because later on in the article it also said like he grew up and his dad was a pig hunter, so that that's where he learnt the bush skills. But also, just having the bush skills wherever he learnt them, that had nothing to do with the actions he took.
That's right, and that course may well, have caused other people, a great deal of benefit from surviving and learning how to manage living in the forest if you get lost and what to do about it. So those things are never emphasised. Yeah, so just at times I read stuff like that and I think, it's not sort of relevant, I think. And it's a shame that people go down that pathway of making that a big deal. Yeah, for the school involved, because it's a very good school.
Yeah. Why are private schools targeted?
I think
Do you think it's a tall poppy thing?
It could be, yeah. I'm not sure. I think some people see private schools as taking money away from the state sector, but we don't. In fact, we give the government a bit more back in GST than we ever take from the government. Yeah. And we are educating students who would normally cost the state sector anyway. So, it's often the views are, perhaps a little old-fashioned. I have no idea. But I guess we all feel that we are part of a whole, and the whole is the education sector in New Zealand, and we are there also to work hard for the education sector and collaborate right across the board, which I think is so important. Rising tides lift all ships, and if there are great stories, and, all my colleagues in the state sector are doing a fantastic job, and sometimes you see schools overly criticised when, they are dealing with some of the biggest and hardest socioeconomic issues to manage in their communities. And, supporting everyone through a great education is what we should be aspiring to, rather than knocking down, the pillars that hold up the education system. And I'm not saying private schools are the pillars, we're just one part of a very good quality system. And we need to talk up what we do here. We do some great things in education and change people's lives.
Because it's not cheap, is it? Like around 30 grand a year to go to Dio?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you gave me a tour of the facilities. You can see where the money goes. It's like it's fantastic grounds you've got and fantastic facilities. But geez, not cheap for parents that have got like 2 or 3 kids.
That's right. That's right.
How many daughters have you had from one family at school? Is it, anyone with like three daughters or 4 daughters? Oh my God, that's so much money.
Do. It is, and. For some people, it's a commitment that they make to their daughters, particularly, which I really admire. People who want to provide, a quality education for their daughters, and they're willing to invest in it.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's an investment. But can you still get a really good education and outcome for your kids at a public school where you don't have to pay fees like that?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
And absolutely, I've been in one. As principal at Pakuranga College, the zone that we had included, families who struggled, but also families who were very high wealth families, who chose the school because it was their zone, and so absolutely. And I totally, I've worked across both sectors. And also in an international school in Beijing, and have loved the quality of those schools and what people can achieve. And I think educators often don't get recognised enough in terms of the work they do and the lives they change. Makes a big difference.
Yeah. You talked about some of the obstacles that you've faced recently, like the COVID era and then the floods. The phase we're in at the moment is like a cost of living crisis. Has that impacted Dio at all?
Yes, it does. It impacts simply because of the extra cost, and families who are paying, big mortgages to live in Central City have found that harder. Our role, we're very lucky because role is very important for our school because essentially that's what pays for everything. So we are cognizant of the hardship on families and how that is. We take the decision making very seriously around what we do and how we go forward to make sure that we do try and stay as affordable as possible. And it requires careful management. Obviously, those facilities that we have involved loans, and we have to be in a good position to pay that back. The role is as strong as it's ever been, which is great, and we're full through to 2027. However, we would expect that some of those families may drop off as a result of the challenges that they face.
Yeah. What is the role?
1734 students go to Dio from foundation class through to year 13.
Foundation, is that what you were talking about, the 3-year-olds?
Yes.
That is so. Yeah. What are they doing at 3? What is it? It's like a creche. What is it?
Well,
do they wear uniforms?
Yes, they do.
Oh my.
They look very cute, Dominic, I'd have to say, and it is one of my most favourite parts of the school. I go down there as a little guest appearance and read books and we play. New Zealand a few years ago was one of the first countries to put in place an early childhood foundation curriculum, and I love that. I think having it's called Te Whariki, and it's wonderful. It's learning based around play and developing some of the traditions and rules, and I guess I say rules, but it's really more about getting children used to regular routines and knowing how to do things and how to hold a pencil and how to hold a book up, all those basics. I'm a bit green on the early learning area, but Emma is our wonderful leader of the foundation class, and they do. The learning is immense, and it makes a big difference going through into year 0, 1 and 2 when you see that the children are well prepared for school. And they obviously get out and about in the community a lot too, exploring different areas, and they like to come up and try out the swivel chair in my office.
What's been your proudest moment as a principal?
Oh yeah, I have lots of proudest moments. And I think that's what makes it so hard to go, is the change or the quality of change you can implement over time. And the people I see who have come in and said, Heather, this is what we need to do. We need a fab lab. That was Shannon, a wonderful teacher we had. We then set about building a fab lab with 3D printers and.
What's a fab lab?
Well, it's about design. So while you can learn subjects, you've also got to be able to give kids creative freedom to design and make stuff. So we have a creative industries faculty and a fab lab, and the idea is that they get a chance to engage in creative equipment that, high-spec computers, design computers that they will find in the workplace later on, and be able to make and use and create. And it's fantastic. So people like that who come in, and, we had a young doctor a few years ago, and she was based up north, and she wrote me a letter and said, I think Dio gave me a fantastic education, but I didn't learn enough about Mātauranga Māori, and I didn't take te reo, so I went away unequipped with cultural needs and how to listen to my patients about that. So we actioned that, got a collection of people to have a discussion. So we wrote our own Mātauranga Māori program, which is now compulsory through to year 10. And it's been fantastic, mainly because we've attracted new and young Māori teachers to the school. That's been a wonderful asset for us, and also for training young Māori teachers as well. And I've loved the difference that it makes when our girls understand cultural knowledge. And of course we have probably about 10% young Māori women at Dio, plus we are very multicultural with about 50 other ethnicities and nationalities. So for me, being able to hold up, Western knowledge comes from a lot of different places. We technically got it from the Greeks, the Romans, the Chinese, the Europeans, all have had input. We call it Western knowledge, but actually all ethnicities around the world have knowledge as well. And it's important that we understand and can step in other people's shoes when we travel and become global. And I think that's such an important part of being a global person, a global citizen. Yeah.
That's interesting that you raised the diversity piece about the school, because you must find it really frustrating when people, critics would say it's like it's a posh, rich, white school.
Yeah, that's right. It isn't. Yeah, and it truly represents diversity in the school. It is a pleasure to be in, and I remember when I joined it, having been in Beijing, which was an international school, so we had just a whole melting pot of different nationalities, coming back to Dio thinking, this is pretty much similar. And of course, as Auckland has diversified, so have we. And I often challenge people on that view. It needs to, people need to be aware of how schools have changed over recent years, and all of us in Auckland reflect diversity.
What about some of the toughest days or toughest occasions on the job? You've been in the role for 17 years. Have you had a student or students over that time that have taken their own life? And how do you deal with that as a principal?
I think, and people have often asked what would be the worst day for you. That would be the worst day for me.
That's happened?
No, it hasn't. But that's not to say anything that it can't. And I think having an awareness that it could happen at any school, at any time, to any principal. And I often drop notes to people, especially because I think that as a principal, that is the hardest thing to have. We did have a circumstance at Pakuranga College a few years ago, which was a former student further down the track who had taken their life. And I remember our counsellor at Pakuranga College then spoke to young people and said, this is not a great idea, guys. Look how it's making you feel. Don't ever forget that, how you are feeling as a result of that, because that's what you leave behind if you think this is a great idea. So, I thought he was very brave to speak that way, and it is something, that would be one of my hardest days, but I have been fortunate so far.
It's incredible, really, isn't it? That you haven't had to deal with that. It's wonderful.
It is. Because it's just the saddest thing. New Zealand has been typically much higher in, taking your own life rates compared to other countries. So it's something we need to be aware of and be able to encourage young people to talk about, what lies within and how to to deal with these things. The journalist Jahan Castaneda, I don't know if he spoke at a conference that I went to recently, and a very impactful speaker, and talked about the impact on him and how he did all the things that you're told to do, But he still suffered from depression and had a really difficult time. And the only way to deal with it was a very good friend of his who turned up and didn't go away and kept persisting to be alongside of him. And, those are the things that make a difference. Yeah, but, it's such a complex thing. But it's something, we should all care about deeply in our country, is how to look after the welfare and well-being of those young people coming through, and how we look after them in that space.
Yeah. 100%. And the fact that you haven't had to deal with it in 17 years, maybe that says more about young women in New Zealand being better at talking about this stuff than young men are.
Yes, it could be. Yes. I'm not sure. I'd be interested in seeing, the patterns over time. But I do think, in all girls environment, certainly girls do talk about things a lot more. There's a lot more social media interaction, and certainly the research shows that girls more often engage in risky social media behaviours. So there is something there for young women that we mustn't take our eyes off.
What do you mean, more risky social media behaviour?
Befriending someone online that they don't know, and then agreeing to meet them, and who they think is a 13-year-old girl is actually a 35-year-old male paedophile. So there's that's risky behaviour. Exploring pornography, and the way in which women are portrayed on pornography is seriously giving young men an uninformed view of what a relationship looks like. And I think that's a worry. And I think our male school principals are very aware of this and doing some great work with young men to help them understand what quality relationships are, and that you don't find it on pornographic websites.
As I mentioned, I said on Instagram you're coming in. I've got so many questions for you, mainly with insights that you've got about teenage girls in New Zealand. If you had to describe teenage girls in one word today, what would it be?
Adaptable. Yeah. I see a group of young women coming through who are now savvy as they come through with technologies that they have in their hands, and they are more savvy about how they let it impose on their lives, and much better at making decisions than 5 years ago and 10 years ago. because I think there's more information about it, Dom, and there's more awareness of parents around, how to use their digital devices safely and effectively. And I think we as communities still have a very strong influence in making sure that we put those protection measures in place. I mean, AI is another potentially impending storm for young people, and it is important for us to ensure that we protect knowledge, and we know that it is their knowledge and not knowledge that they have simply extracted from digital sources. So we have to be aware all the time, I think, of their impact. Hearing their voices is one of the most important things, and making sure that we explore with them how it is, what is life like for them as they're coming through. But I see them being more adaptable and capable of dealing with these changes in a pretty effective way. Yeah, I think they're great.
If I was at school today, I'd definitely be leaning heavily into ChatGPT. It'd be doing most of my assignments.
Yeah, well, it's pretty interesting because some of the research that's been done in the UK, so this happened at universities, and so most of the professors, were making papers, and they said they could tell, what was generated on ChatGPT and what wasn't. So the researchers put them to the test and gave them 115 papers to mark. So essentially, some of them were ChatGPT answers, and some and they were handwritten out to make it look like a student had written them, and they were mixed up with all the papers. What do you think happened?
Well, I don't know. Tell me.
Okay. So what happened was very few of the ChatGPTs, in fact, I think it was 112 out of 115 papers were not picked up as being ChatGPT generated. But the other issue that we have to face is that they identified human answers. They identified many more human answers as being ChatGPT than the ChatGPT papers. So it just shows that as humans we can't distinguish a difference, and I think this is why we need to go back to a more examined-based system of qualifications, which of course this government announced a couple of weeks ago. And I think these are really good changes because, the view over there is that there might be a scandal in a few years because people have managed to get their degrees using AI and there's been no protection against that. So we may have people out there who have post-COVID, got their qualifications by using AI. So we need to probably relook at that and ensure that we reinforce the education system with ways of making sure that genuine knowledge is being acquired. And how do we know that? Yeah,
it's a scary time, isn't it? It really is. What's the biggest misconception people have about teenage girls today?
Yes, it's fairly broad because I think it varies on who they are, what their role is. And I would say most of our staff, the common misconception I think about adolescents is that they're politically unaware, that they are naive to many things. But actually, I think they aren't. They are very aware, politically aware as well, and they have a voice. And the vast majority that I see, we should be very proud as a country of the young people we are seeing come out of our education system, and I mean right across the board. By and large, they are astounding young people. And when I look at, when I go to prize givings and things, it's not unusual for a parent to walk out and say, I feel very inadequate after hearing what our young people achieve these days. They are fantastic. They are engaged. They take on a lot. They love participating. They have a voice, and I have the utmost respect for them. I think we are very fortunate with our young people today.
God, you're like a proud mum, aren't you?
I am. I am. And look, I've even put the dog to sleep.
Oh, could you hear him
can't
snoring
they?
before? He snores quite loudly. If you could give one piece of advice to every young woman in New Zealand today, what would it be? It's another broad one.
Yes. Don't ever give away the freedom and rights that women in past years have enabled for you. I was fortunate. I went to a course at Wharton last year in Philadelphia, so the Wharton Business School, and it was fascinating because the vast majority of the course were American women, and they talked about how they have fewer rights than their grandmothers had in America. And I kind of questioned, how did that happen and why has it happened? And I would like to think that this is where the word stroppy comes in. We would get very stroppy about things like that, where our rights as women are undermined or taken away. I think that would be my advice to young women, is to always be aware of your rights as a woman and why it's important that you always maintain those and look at equity and equality, because you don't get equality necessarily by treating everyone equally. And those are important points. I mean, if you educate a woman for 1 year, one further year in other parts of the world, you can change the whole population growth of a country. That's the power of educating women. And, that would be my advice to them. Get educated, always stand up for your rights.
Yeah, be defiant.
Exactly.
And challenge things.
Yes, you must, if you don't believe in them.
Yeah. In your view, what are the most important life skills schools should be teaching girls alongside academics?
Well, we had this interesting question a few years ago. Do subjects create amazing people, or do knowledgeable people sometimes do dumb things because they have knowledge but they don't have values, or there's, that they can be dodgy ethically around things. And the first global financial crisis that we had back in the early 2000s was because there were smart people loaning more money than people could own. And so there was going to be a tipping point somewhere that triggered, the global financial crisis that went right around the world. So we had some discussions after that, and there were a few things that we came up with as a school that we thought were needed. One was ethics. How does kids, just because they know stuff, does that make them, ethical young people with values that are important to have, like honesty and trust and integrity. And so we developed our own ethics program that we run. So Dame Shana Elias is the patron of our ethics centre, because ethics are the basis of law. That's how societies create law. And for me, though, that was really important to understand, because, whenever you're engaging with honesty and integrity, that's the basis of how you build your law to create fairness and a just society. So that kind of level of justice and what that might look like encouraged us to build that program, within a compulsory part of our curriculum. There's also, we are an Anglican school, and the part about being an Anglican that I think is lovely is that you accept all people all the time for who they are, regardless. And I think that's so important, that should be a starting point of all people's relationships, that and it's important underpinning of our school. All people who come to us are respected, and in our workplace we must honour that as well. So while I'm the principal, I appreciate everyone in our school for the role. We couldn't do it without them all. And for me, that level of modelling what we say we believe in and what we do is really important. And, it was about moving from a bureaucracy into a much more collaborative environment where people can rock up to your office and tell you what you need as a school to change and go forward. And, that's how you build a learning organisation, when you're able to capture the knowledge of everyone in your organisation. And that means everyone, regardless of the roles that they play, because they all have far more, capacity than I as an individual have. And I've loved that. So building that into your school culture, I think, for me, has been so important. Yeah. The people, who are you as a person? And, the fact that every person has a spiritual centre. In past years, I think we've all become a bit devoid of that, and we don't acknowledge that we have an inner self that we should know really well and understand who we are as people, the values, what will we stand up for and protect, and what will we say should never happen again in this world. There's a lot. And having been raised in Pahiatua, on the farm between Pahiatua and Ikituna, we had Polish refugees from World War I and survivors, really, of families. And learning about that as a child had a powerful message for me about, people and, how to ensure that we have a peaceful world, not an aggressive world.
What do you wish parents understood better about their teenage daughters?
Oh, good question. I think
I'd like to claim it, but that's from someone on Instagram.
Right. Yeah. I think I would like families to see their daughters as worthy an investment as their male counterparts in a family, and to ensure that there is equity within families. In all ethnicities, that's not always the case, but certainly we would promote that as a school. In terms of their young women, I think message for all women out there is to never tell your daughter that she can't do maths. I believe anybody can do maths, even you, Dom.
Oh, no. I was going to say...
I nearly got you over
proved
the line. And encourage them into their areas of interest, rather than have a set view on what they should be achieving. I think it's important to acknowledge them as young women in the world, and to accord them the level of equity they would every other family member, and to encourage them especially to look at those subjects that they may not have achieved in. And, many women out there probably were overwhelmed with maths at school. And boys typically have slightly different brain development that I believe it gives them more spatial ability before girls get to that. So often they don't see themselves as being successful in mathematics. Every young woman in New Zealand can do maths, and it's about switching on that passion for it, and science subjects as well. And of course, they're my passions. But when I graduated, the number of women to men was far. It was 2 to 30, wow. And it has changed over time, which I love to see. And I think helping her to understand that she doesn't need to settle for second best. All women should have the right to achieve what they want to in the world and be encouraged by their parents to do that. And that's what I would love parents to see in their daughters.
I never realised there was it was a thing that girls couldn't do maths.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, good on you.
It's an actual...
Keep it up.
Wow. Are there warning signs parents should watch for that might suggest a teenage girl is struggling mentally but not speaking up?
Yeah. Yes, there are signs. Being withdrawn, wanting to spend lots of time in bedrooms on their own, keeping phones at night. I think it's really important to take digital devices off students at night and to make sure that that's managed in families. I really think, young people need their sleep, girls and boys, and it's really important. But digital devices, and I don't know if you've played computer games from time to time. I have, and they are actually quite addictive. So that would be one thing that the girls don't know, that I often play computer, it's mahjong and a few other things.
I see you're not playing Call of Duty or...
No, but coloured bottles, with mental games where you have to work out those sort of things. But I do it to unwind, and it's just a way of switching off for a wee while. But to protect that space, I think young people need our guidance as they come through around how to make sure they get good sleep, they form strong relationships. The patterns I see are often sudden changes in behaviour, where, 1 minute your daughter's a happy child running off to school, not wanting to go to school, not wanting to sit around the family table and enjoy space with each other, and certainly spending too much time on digital devices is usually a sign that their mental state is going somewhere else and not centred on themselves. And I think those are usually the indicators that would say a good sit down and a discussion is needed to find out what might be driving that. It might be nothing, but it also might be that they're just finding it difficult to cope with hormonal changes as well.
Yeah, I suppose as a parent you've got to be hyper vigilant, because you could just write it off to be like a puberty thing or something else, but it might be something deeper.
Yeah.
Is there a book or resource that you'd recommend to every parent of a teenage girl?
Yes, it's a resource, NetSafe. I would definitely recommend, because it gives really great parental advice, and it's for boys and girls. I think that's it's important to use whatever you can to find out what symptoms might look like with regard to overuse of social media. I think reading in general is great for boys and girls, so no particular aspect of that. But in Auckland especially, there are heaps of parent advice centres, which I think are fantastic, that can provide parents, with that much needed advice. And NetSafe has an 0800 number as well, which is always available. And certainly do go and talk to your school about it, because we see their daughters for an extended period of time during the day, and can talk to parents about how we provide that consistent care and support. And, it is something that is so important, because we now have no boundaries between school and home. We are one and the same from the point of view that, social media and digital is just so ubiquitous. And we need to have a collective view on it so that we can support each other through those changing times.
Geez, phones have come up a lot in this conversation, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, it's a real worry. It's almost like a social experiment, and no one knows what the outcome's going to be.
It's so true.
Yeah, for all of us as well.
Yes. And, preparedness, continual communication is really key to help our parents so that, they can feel more confident in calling it and saying, that's not happening.
Yeah.
I mean, kids are incredibly resourceful. We have controls on all of our system, but our people are always, our IT people are always working on identifying those who have found a workaround.
Have you got like a cell phone blocker or something?
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yes, but
you'll find... they override it somehow?
There are, access to different websites, and we've got, a huge number blocked. And in terms of our AI, we are using PlayLab, which is an American-designed educational tool. So it's contained, and all the information in it is valid and reliable information. So you're not going to get kids writing or sourcing material that is misinformation.
Yeah. What are the most common things girls come to you worried about? Or maybe not specifically you, maybe you're like your guidance counsellor or
Yes.
or the other, what sort of reports do other teachers come to you with?
Yes, usually relationships,
Yeah.
whether they be with girls or others outside. Relationship issues typically are fairly common in terms of, and this is where social media comes into play. I guess, this gets back to, some of the misconceptions around, what people might think about girls' schools. I can assure people that having been in a co-ed secondary school as well in New Zealand, that there's just as much goes on between the girls and boys there as it does in an all-girls school. So, you often hear, well, they're more catty, or
Catty's the word I want to, yeah.
Are you wanting to get out there? They're not, and, that's not the case. You'll see it across any school where you get the same interactions. There's actually no difference. And, there's a view that in a boys, in a co-ed school that, the boys have a moderating factor. Well, they have lots of other factors as well, but that's not one of them that I've observed. And it is, usually relationships when you're a growing teen, actually it's about your self-image. And if you talk to students about how they see themselves, those things usually pop out. I don't feel good enough. I'm not academic enough. I'm not bright. And sometimes, that they have this image that is not actually who they are. And, our role is to help them deal with that and to build self-confidence in themselves, because that gives them the strength to be confident and to address, healthy relationships, which should always have good conversation. And it should always be about helping the other person's, how they see themselves, rather than the put down and, the tall poppy stuff you talked about before. So it is really important that we help with those relationships and build healthy relationships, and the ability to look at what healthy relationships are. And, we run a special program looking at controlling relationships, so that girls learn what that looks like and why it's not a healthy way to build a relationship with another person.
Do you have a view on what's better, single-sex schools or mixed schools?
I do. I probably had a view prior to working at Dio, and it's a different view that I have now. I never went through a single-sex school. I always went to a co-ed school, always taught in co-educational schools. So Dio was the first all-girls school that I went to. And I thought, well, this will be interesting and different. But as you can tell by the number of years I've been part of it, I've loved it. And I see a huge benefit. And I'm pretty sure that my male school principal counterparts would say the same, that there are opportunities girls get in all girls schools that they don't get in all boys schools. They fulfil all the leadership positions. They're there doing the speaking. They're there leading the rock band. They are there leading all sports. And what they demonstrate to each other, I think, is gold. And I have to say that I've become a convert completely. I think, the move away in some countries that I see from single-sex schools, well, it's a choice that parents can make, but I certainly see the benefits of young women being inspired by other young women to grow, be confident, and to show what's possible. I've loved it.
Yeah, I can tell. I can tell you love it. You're so passionate about it. God, you're going to miss it, aren't you?
I am.
And peer pressure for teenage girls, is it better or worse than what it was, say, 17 years ago when you started?
I think
it's no different.
I think it's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, than it ever used to be, because of diversity in many ways. I think it's important that people can and have the view that they can be who they are and express that. And, I like to see that, and I see young women far less worried about their body image than my generation of women, and I think that's great. Yeah.
When a girl is struggling, whether it's with body image, confidence or friendships, what do you think she needs to hear most from an adult?
Yeah, she needs to hear how she is or how she looks from another adult, because how she feels sometimes is right out of line with actually how she looks. And that's the kind of secret imposter syndrome that you hear women talk about, where they end up in roles where they're not sure that they actually fulfil it. And it is true that women will look at a job description and work out what she can't do rather than all the things she can do, whereas a male will go ahead and apply anyway. Those things I've seen that, when people line up for positions of responsibility and in applications for roles at Dio. I think what she needs to hear from an adult that they care about her, that no matter who she is, she can be loved. And I think those are really important aspects of building her confidence and feeling that she is worthy of a voice and a contribution to the world around her, and that leadership resides in everyone. It's not just about being the best sports person or the best, wearing the most up-to-date clothes, or however that's judged nowadays. I think, leadership can come from very quiet quarters, from women who have a lot to offer. It's not necessarily always in the I want to be out the front kind of look. And I think hearing that from an adult, so that young woman can value what she does have within her, and that she can see the potential, those are really important things to hear.
Yeah, sounds like what you're talking about is like confidence and self-esteem. So how do you boost that in people?
That requires more than just learning a subject, and that's where I think it gets to the culture of your school and how you grow young women within it and how they feel valued and a part of the community. So within schools, it is really important that is addressed, because you can't just learn subjects and expect to come out as a whole person. There's lots of aspects of that, particularly around, the spiritual self, the, wairua, and the personal well-being, which does come through some subject areas, but it's an important part of building, within the pastoral care of the school as well, and having purposeful programs that help young women to discover who they are. I also think you expose the students to absolutely as many opportunities as you can to sport and the arts, because those co-curricular activities, sport, as you would know, Dom, you learn to become part of a team. The team can't work if you're not there. If you win, it's great. But if you lose, which you often do more than you win, you have to learn to cope with those ups and downs of life. And it's about building resilience through activities and actions and experiences. You can do it, through wellbeing programs as well, which have become part of many schools. But actually actions and experiences as they come through are really important to provide. And particularly I'm a sports fan myself, and I saw the benefits of what that was like growing up, learning to win, to lose, to be humble to others and support participation, but also acknowledge, high quality elite performances, none of which I seemed to be involved with back at school. But hey, those are the things you learn along the way, and building resilience today is so important, to be adaptable and to know how to deal with the relationship issues and, growing your sense of self-esteem as part of that. They're all really important aspects of what we can do
Are teenage girls generally quite resilient, do you think?
I think to some extent, I feel that they're more so than they might have been 10 years ago when all of this, sort of major change of social media washed through communities. Yeah, I think they are. And, certainly the ones I see, I feel very proud of, because I do think that, by and large, the vast majority are really confident young women, and I'm proud of that.
Mm. What do you think teenage girls secretly wish their parents understood about them?
Yes, I think they like their parents to know that they can be relied on more, I think, rather than and can learn to make their own decisions. But again, there's got to be some good guidance around that. Yeah, I think
some more responsibility, or
I think so.
Yeah.
We talk about the voting age in New Zealand quite a bit, and yeah, I mean there are also dangers in social media that we're aware of that can influence young minds, and you saw an example of that in the States, where people get radicalised online, and that worries me enormously, because what were the reasons for that, and I would suspect there's a hole in that person's life that was never filled with love and perhaps kindness and, the values that we want young people to develop and have in terms of how they see the world. Yeah. So those things do worry me enormously around, what parents and young people know. And, that amazing program Adolescence showed when, parents, he thought he was keeping his son safe by giving him a, computer in his room, and so he wouldn't go out. But, he developed particular views that weren't healthy in his upbringing. Yeah, and it's hard, I think, but I think parents, the talking, the human time that you give a young adult can never be underestimated in terms of its value. The parent involvement, engagement, and love of their child still is the most amazing and profound influence on a young person's growth and self-esteem. Yeah, and I don't think that's new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Netflix show Adolescence, which there's a thread in there about Andrew Tate and the negative impact his voice has had on, particularly on young men. What about for girls in terms of influences and negative role models online? Like what sort of role have I don't know, like the Kardashians come to mind, like people like that. What sort of role do they have on young women?
Certainly there is an influence still that comes through around body image and beauty products, and certainly even when I'm playing my wee insignificant computer games, I get targeted with stuff, and obviously they can tell my age because it's always about, getting fit for the over 60-year-olds. So I'm going, oh, right, okay. Surely not, but yes.
Okay, no one under 60 is playing mahjong.
And wrinkle creams and everything else. And also bee venom and, how you can make yourself look 20 years younger. And I think, oh, yeah, okay. So, that we're all getting bombarded with that, but particularly during teenage years, yes, there is that. But I think then it gets back to the family, the role of the family and the role of us in schools too, is to, I guess, give people a healthy experience of what what's important in life, and how to build those relationships with each other that are going to be meaningful and be supportive rather than critical, which is a typical behaviour of some of the online chat groups and what have you, where they'll exclude someone and exclude them from a group. And that kind of exclusion we recognise now as, tantamount really to bullying behaviours. While bullying kind of took over for a while and almost everything, like pushing over accidentally at lunchtime, was a bullying issue, we have defined those now with our community much more clearly so that people understand, that it's deliberate, it's over a long period of time, that, it's set out to undermine the other person. So those definitions now are more clearly understood. So a lot does impact on those, on role models that are online. And of course the extreme versions of those, like the Kardashians and the male, egotistical male who doesn't, believe in, women's rights or anything like that. So it is a more complex world. And I think it's because, the fringes now and the radical areas of fringes now have much more voice than they perhaps had in past years. And it was harder to develop a following of these sorts of things than it is online. Now you can get a following for almost anything, anywhere in the world, anytime. And, those are challenges that we all need to take seriously as parents and educators and monitor, especially online behaviours, and put in place rigorous controls. And that's why I recommended NetSafe, because I do think they give great advice.
So we're recording this in the final quarter of 2025. Then you've got a summer break, and then you're back for your final term.
Yeah.
So 17 years in the job as principal of Dio. Let's talk legacy. How do you want to be remembered by the Dio community and by the girls whose lives you've helped shape?
I guess it gets back to my dad's saying, "Leave it in a better place," and I hope it is. I hope that I guess too that one of the most important things I think in today's world is ensuring that the school itself is adaptable as an organisation, so that it can look at what's out there. We're not afraid to have these open discussions with our parents and with our staff members. We have 293 staff. So, you get a really good cross-section of views around, what we can do, what needs to happen, and how can we do it our way. And so over the years, that's become a regular and norm to pattern now of being responsive, receptive and adaptable to providing an education that in effect is for the future. So for me, I hope that's the legacy that we've left, that the school will continue to grow, develop and adapt and provide women with the education they need for the future they'll step into. That's my hope, Dom, anyway. And, it's been an absolute blast.
Well, it's a huge contribution. What are ex-students called? Are they called old girls?
Well, we changed the name.
I was going to say, because if you go to a boys' school, you call it an old boy, but old girl sounds kind of, I don't know, offensive.
Well, we changed two names. The girls that came right through the school were called Survivors. So I changed that name to Dio Champions. Because
so it wasn't really Survivors.
I thought Survivors was giving the wrong kind of impression, and so we quietly changed it to Dio Champions. And the Dio Old Girls, of course, spells dogs. So that was another
not a great acronym.
Another challenge. So a wonderful woman who was chair of the Dio Old Girls Association changed the name. Jenny Spillane, she's now our board chair, and they changed the name to Diocesan Alumna Association, the DAA. So, that sounds far more official than the dogs. But it is lovely. I mean, because the school has longevity in Auckland from 1903, then, there are probably 12 to 15,000 Dio Old Girls all around the world. And some of them are, the vast majority of them are exceptional women.
So when dogs come up to you, like in public, when you're at the mall or at the grocery store, what sort of feedback do you get? What do they say?
Well, usually there's a, "Hello, Mrs. McRae," I hear from a long way away, and I get a hug, which is always lovely. Yeah, so they are great young people. Last year when I was on sabbatical, I was in Zurich and had popped out for a moment's shopping to have a bit of a break, and went into a store and heard that, "Hello, Mrs. McRae." It was just lovely. And it was a former student. We had a hug, a photo and a catch-up, and she's working for a finance industry organisation in Sweden, and in Switzerland rather, sorry. And it's just lovely to run into young women and find out where they've got to, where they've gone in their lives. Every year we celebrate girls who are under 30 but are very high achievers, called the Women to Watch Awards, and that's just been phenomenal, picking up women who are doing exceptional things in the world, all either starting new businesses. Some of them are, making contributions to services. Some of them are, lawyers or judges in other parts of the world, and to hear the range of things. One woman that we're going to be celebrating soon is a first lieutenant in the New Zealand Army, and so she has graduated top of her course and is now a squadron leader for her people. And I think it's lovely, the whole range of experiences that women can get engaged in these days. And we promote that with the girls by celebrating these women who are in our community. It's fantastic. I'm inspired every time I hear their stories.
That's so cool. When I had your male counterpart, Tim O'Connor from Auckland Grammar on the podcast, he told a story about sometimes carloads of kids, students or former students will go past and they'll yell out, "Fuck you, sir!" And sorry for my language. And he said, "Yeah, they're abusing me, but also they end with sir," which
which is
some
quite
messages
nice.
sunk through. Do you get any female students, past or present, abuse you ever?
No.
Touch wood, not yet.
No, not yet. But I have had women, older women, who have emailed and said, they didn't always enjoy their time at Dio. And, they felt isolated or they were very homesick while they were there. And I do think in past years when the school may have had perhaps a very formal sort of approach to education, it didn't suit everybody. And I think schools in general have become more adaptable to that, to try and make a place, a place where everybody can feel comfortable and welcome and connected. And that's a challenge we all face as educators, is who are we, what do we want the most for our students, and how can we help them to love life and achieve within it and feel confident to do that. So no fuck you principal stories.
Touch wood.
But I've had some great feedback about, like the doctor who felt unprepared for working in a Māori community. How important is that when you're a lawyer or a doctor or anywhere else in service in New Zealand, that you think about what you need to do to step in the shoes of others and understand their wants and needs. And for me that's been a great pleasure to see us work in that space a lot more. Yeah.
So term 2 next year, you wake up and you no longer have to go to this job that you've had for the last 17 years. How's that going to be? It's going to feel strange. Is it going to be exciting, or is it going to feel a little empty?
I'm hoping to fill it up, Dom, with a lot of things. Number one is I'd like a more regular running cycle. Obviously, during the school week, it gets pretty tight with functions and things after school. So I would like to work on that some more. I'd like to continue helping develop the TTI, the Teachers Institute, that a number of us have been involved in, Tim being one of them, and also David Ferguson, who left his principal's job to become our CEO. So I'm chair of the board, so I would like to think that I can contribute more in that space, to develop great teachers, to ensure that they stay in the teaching profession and feel rewarded going into the future. So there is plenty to do. There's also work supporting other principals, mentoring and helping other principals around the country. I'd love to get involved in that kind of work. And, so I don't think that my time will be wasted, but I'd love to help support the education system right across the board, because it all matters, and that's important for me.
Politics?
Gosh.
Would you like to get into the political side of education? Or no?
Yeah. It just depends, Dom, I think. Yeah, I think one of the issues with education is that with a 3-year cycle of governments, we feel like a cork on the top of the ocean at times, where one government comes in and we've got decisions made, and then another government comes in and those decisions are taken away, and it's completely different. I don't think that does service to our education system. And, the public service, I do think perhaps needs a bit of a relook in general. And, are they serving the public like our taxes that we pay into it should be? To some extent, they seem to be more embroiled with, political sort of action rather than delivering to the areas in which they should be delivering. And that's a question really that I think would be an interesting question for people to have a think about. Is our public service really servicing the public in the way that it should? And my view is neither health nor education are effective in that space. Yeah. I think if we can get cross-sector agreement on educational decision-making moving forward, that is a much more desirable way to improve the quality of education across New Zealand, and I'd love to see that happen.
Yeah.
Well,
you've got so much experience and so much knowledge. So, what? what was that face? It would be good if you could carry on sharing it. So, term 2 next year. Say you're doing some shopping, you're walking through Newmarket, and you see a Dio girl vaping or acting inappropriately.
Yep.
What do? You say anything, or it's no longer your circus, not your monkeys?
No, I would definitely call it. Absolutely. I'd make a quick phone call. And, once you care about these things, you'll always care about them. Yeah. And I'd probably introduce myself and say to the young woman, have a think about what you're doing to your body and the reputation of your school. And when you go there, you buy into that. And, your responsibility as a student is to listen up and be accountable, like we all are and have been over the years, and it's important she models that too. So step up, young lady, and I would make a phone call after that to have someone follow up.
That was a dumb question.
That's all right.
My grandfather was a school principal, and he was a school principal till the day he died. Like, once you're a principal for life, aren't you?
You're
constantly telling people off.
I'll try not to tell too many people off, but I do think, it is funny, because I do pick up rubbish around the school and do things like that. But I think, if you want to live your values and do what you're asking students to do, model it. I have a story of a school I went to for a little while and did some relieving. And they had a DP there who was an interesting character. Anyway, he was walking across, this was quite a few years ago, he had a cigarette hanging out his mouth and he looked dishevelled and he was asking the boys to pull their socks up. And I thought, really? Okay, you've got to do what you say you believe in, and I think young people see that, and it is important. They see that.
Yeah, leadership, culture, value, all those things. It's got to come from the top down, doesn't it?
It's definitely both ways. I think, top down, but also believe, that you empower the rest of your community to walk the same. Hey, wake eke noa, you're on the same boat, you've got to be pulling in the same direction. And some of those simple things really do matter. And, kids want you to be consistent with them, to be personable and to be a person. That's what you're wanting them to be. And it's important that we be those things too.
Yeah.
All good.
I think that's a great place to end it.
Yeah.
Heather, Mrs. McRae, my old maths tutor. In terms of your LinkedIn profile, it can't be all perfect, can it? You tutored me and I didn't have great mathematics success. But 17 years in Dio as the principal, no one can argue with your achievements there. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It's been really cool.
It's been a pleasure, Dom, and lovely to touch base with you again and to see you've grown into a very, very fine young man that we're all proud of. Oh!
I'm just trying to think when the last time someone called me a young man was. I'll take it. Hey, thanks so much.
All the best, Dom, and great work.